After this video ends, you will ask yourself one question: would you survive this or give up? A man had been lying flat on the ground on his stomach for the past 3 days and 3 nights, but he did not even have the courage to move even a little. Because right behind him, there was a gorge hundreds of meters deep. If he fell into it, his body would be shattered into pieces. To save his life, he was tightly holding the loose sand of the ground with both hands and somehow trying to maintain his balance. But the sand was so soft that it could not bear his weight. Then suddenly, without any warning, his body began to slip and he started sliding uncontrollably downwards. Seeing the danger, he immediately spread both his legs so that resistance could increase. Then, he pressed his head against the ground as if he was applying brakes. Only then, with great difficulty, he managed to stop. Out of fear, his heart was beating very fast and he wanted to shout for help. But as soon as he looked up, he realized that far and wide, there was no human around. He was just about to lose all hope, when suddenly the mobile kept in his bag started ringing. He felt that this was his last hope, so he slowly steadied himself and very carefully started trying to take out the phone by putting his hand inside the bag. But as soon as his fingers touched the mobile, his right hand suddenly became stiff and his balance got disturbed. Because of which he again started falling rapidly towards the gorge. Luckily, at the last moment, he grabbed a rock sticking out and held himself at the edge of the gorge. Now, he was just one step away from death and he had only one way left to stay calm and somehow find a way to save his life. Suddenly his eyes fell on the rising sea waves below, and at that very moment, a very daring idea came into his mind. He started murmuring something to himself and began counting the speed of the waves hitting the rocks. After estimating the right timing many times, finally he gathered courage. And as soon as the next big wave came, he jumped. The water of the sea became like a cushion, so he did not die by hitting directly. But the speed at the time of falling was so high that his waist hit against a rock and he became unconscious right there. By luck, he regained consciousness quickly and before suffocating, he used all his strength and swam to a nearby rock. Coming out of the mouth of death, that man did not even get a chance to steady himself and quickly coughed out the water stuck in his throat. Then he lay on the ground and kept gasping. After a long time, when his breathing became normal, he somehow sat up. Then he saw that there was such a deep cut on his right hand that the white bone inside was clearly visible. Seeing which his body was filled with goosebumps. But now there was no use regretting, so he steadied himself and decided to leave from there. But as soon as he took one step forward, a cracking sound came from the lower part of his body. And he fell hard on the ground and again became unconscious. After who knows how long, the tide in the sea started rising and a strong wave brought him back to his senses. He tried to get up, but his legs were not supporting him at all, because while jumping from the gorge, the bones of his waist had badly broken after hitting the rocks. Now, only a few toes of his feet were barely able to move. The rest of his whole body had become numb. The frightened man started shouting loudly for help, but in this deserted sea area, there was no one to hear his voice. No matter how loudly he screamed, there was going to be no answer. When he was just about to completely break down, then he remembered that he still had a mobile phone which could probably save his life. He quickly took off his bag, and opened it by pulling the zip with his teeth. Then, bearing the sharp pain rising from his injured hand, he put his hand inside and took out the phone. But as soon as he took it out, he came to know that the phone had been completely damaged after getting soaked in seawater and now it had become just a useless piece of metal. Seeing this, he became completely hopeless. Helpless, he started looking towards the sky and thinking about what to do now. But within a few moments, he realized that if he kept sitting like this, then as soon as the seawater covered this rock, there would be no hope left for his survival. So he steadied himself. He took off his clothes and tied a bandage on his injured hand and then started carefully looking at the surrounding area so that he could find some way. All around, only bare and dry rocks were visible, but at some distance, a wide sandy land was visible. If he could somehow swim and reach there, then maybe his life could be saved. Thinking this, he immediately gathered his belongings and with great difficulty dragged himself to the edge. Then in one jerk, he threw himself into the sea and with the help of his only working arm, he started swimming with all his strength towards that sandy area. In normal conditions, this distance was nothing for him, but now his condition was completely different. Now the lower part of the man's body had become completely paralyzed and on top of that, he was able to swim with only one hand. Because of which his strength was getting exhausted many times faster. Within a short time, he became completely tired and broken and now he had no strength left to move forward. His body started sinking in the water like a heavy stone. Then suddenly, as soon as he felt death, he came to his senses with a jerk, and bringing out a surprising strength from within himself, he again came to the surface of the water. After this, using his last bit of strength, somehow he reached the shore. He thought that now he would be able to rest for a while. But then a powerful wave came and pulled him back into the sea again. Even though he was completely broken, but when the hope of life was visible in front of him, then he was not ready to give up in any condition. He swam with all his strength toward a nearby rock, and then, taking off his bag, he threw it hard so that one of his straps got caught on the rock. He held onto it tightly, considering it his last hope, while the strong waves kept crashing against his body. After an unknown amount of time, the sea calmed and he once again escaped the jaws of death. But then a clever bird swooped down and grabbed a piece of flesh from his injury. The sharp pain made him startle immediately. He waved his hand to scare the bird away and then broke the strap with all his strength, falling onto the ground. After that, he dragged himself toward the sandy open area and after several hours of effort, created a large and clearly visible SOS sign so that any passing tourist could see him. Then he started digging a small hole in the sand near his feet. He lined it with the tin foil he had collected, preparing to use it like a container. And thought he would first filter his own urine to quench his thirst, but his waist bones were badly broken, so instead of urine, only blood-filled water came out, which was impossible to drink. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sound echoed over the sea, as if a heavy rainstorm was about to come. Seeing this, he immediately spread the remaining foil in the hole and placed a cup he found nearby to collect rainwater. After doing this, he looked up at the sky with relief, expecting the rain to fill the cup, but the clouds rumbled for a long time and in the end, only a few drops fell. Surprised, he lifted the cup, but it was completely empty. Not giving up, he picked up the foil again and pressed it to his mouth, sucking hard. Still, not a single drop came. This blow of hopelessness completely broke him. Helplessly, he sat on the ground, crying for a long time and finally forced himself to accept this cruel reality. The next day, he was suddenly awakened by the ringing of a phone. Following the sound, he searched around and soon found his mobile buried under the sand. Seeing his parents' photo on the screen, he became emotional and immediately recounted the painful story of the past few days to them. He begged them to come quickly and save him, but on the other end, only broken voices came through. No clear answer or promise of help arrived. Then he realized that what he had been seeing and hearing was only a hallucination caused by severe dehydration. He understood that he might not survive today, so he looked at the phone and said his last goodbye to his family. Exhausted and broken, he lay on the beach and quietly waited for death to come. His wounds began to rot and the smell drew in numerous seabirds, waiting for his last breath to peck at his body. But then suddenly, a faint shadow of a ship appeared on the sea surface. Hope sparked again inside him. Even though he thought it might be an illusion shown to him before death, he refused to let the opportunity slip away. Knowing that someone across the sea was waiting for him, with this thought, he grabbed a half-broken surfboard and without hesitation, started sliding toward the sea. The strong waves kept throwing him back onto the shore, but he did not even think of giving up. After continuous effort, he finally crossed the big waves and reached the deep sea. But when he looked around, he saw nothing but empty ocean in every direction. No ship was in sight. Seeing this, instead of anger, a strange calm came over his face. He slowly closed his eyes, slipped from the surfboard and began sinking into the infinite depth. Then, suddenly, a real ship appeared above and a rescue worker jumped into the sea to pull the unconscious man out. After the doctor's relentless efforts, the man miraculously regained consciousness. This story, based on true events, shows how the hero, through strong courage and an unyielding mindset, finally received help. It teaches us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, we must never give up hope because hope is what gives a person life again.